Can you hear me? Can
Yeah,
you
there
hear
we
me?
go. All right.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Awesome. How are you doing?
I got an hour and 35 minutes of sleep.
What the hell? What you been up to?
All I do is work. It's all I do ever.
Grinding 24/7.
Yeah.
Awesome. But yeah, again, appreciate that you reached out, and I'm really interested to knowing more about you and for me to be able to share the news about what I've been doing here in the Philippines. And hopefully, through this, we'll be able to shake up the esports industry and provide more opportunities to more esports enthusiasts nationwide, and hopefully more people in the esports scene can see the value of this event, and for everyone to have more what we call this chance in being part of this scene.
Okay. Yeah, I'm very curious when you sent me that earlier message about what you're working on. So my first question for you is, introduce yourself. Who are you and why exactly are you here today?
Gotcha. So I'm Jamar Montehermoso, but most of the people I know just call me Jam. And I spearhead and I'm in charge of Ipalarong Pambansa. So basically here in the Philippines, we have what you call Palarong Pambansa, which directly or roughly translates to national games. So it's an event annually held specifically designed for student athletes in the Philippines. Uh, and it's a yearly thing wherein traditional sports played by these athletes, and it's important to note that this event is mandated by a Republic Act, so it's a law that institutionalizes this event, ensures that it is held on an annual basis. So I was inspired to launch a similar initiative, but for esports. Since the Philippines have done exceptionally well in this field, winning several international titles, particularly back-to-back world champions in Mobile Legends, probably one of the biggest esports in Southeast Asia. We've also have some esport athletes in CODM, Call of Duty Mobile, PUBG, and League of Legends Wild Rift. So I thought that it's a worthwhile to investigate the feasibility of organizing an event to showcase our country's prowess in esports and scout for talents nationwide. And I believe IPA Larong Pamansa also marks one of the first global show of national government support for esports, and with the goal of creating stable and sustainable grassroots esports ecosystem. What I meant by this is that the Ipalarong Pabansa will have through the government backing, particularly of the National Youth Commission, we're able to uh, mandate the youth councils in the city and municipalities nationwide to participate in this event. By participate, we mean that they need to appoint an esports coordinator who will then assemble teams to participate in Ipalarong Pabansa. So there was an advisory that was released a few days ago that directs the presidents of the youth councils nationwide. And the great thing about this is that this is not just a one-time thing, but we plan to make the to have the esports coordinator not only assemble teams but create esports organizations in their cities and municipalities to represent in the national stage for more events in the future. So emulating the traditional model of European Football League or NBA teams where they represent their region or state. It's easier for them to gather resources and sponsorship since they're the ones representing their hometowns in the national stage. So through that, I believe it will these organizations at the local level will have an easier time to gather resources and have more funding, since it's easier to pitch to the to the LGUs, local government units, or local business that, hey guys, we're the team that represents our city or municipality in the national level. It'd be great if you support us. And of course, in return, you will be recognized as the business that supports the team that represents, that champions our hometown in the national leagues. So that's the idea behind it. And hopefully through this, it will create an ecosystem, a cycle wherein this esports organization will get the funding from these businesses. These teams will perform well in national leagues. They will players will be scouted from these grassroots level, and they can have the opportunity to make names in not only in their local scene, hopefully in national and international scenes as well. And in return, the businesses will get the branding and recognition, become top of the mind in their own industry in that local level, creating a cycle where they continue their support of these teams and for these teams to have more stability and more sustainability. So through that, we're hoping that all of the cities and municipalities will receive this type of backing, and through that, more esports enthusiasts nationwide will have an opportunity to have stable careers in the industry. So yeah, basically that's it. That's the that's Ipalarong Bansa and the purpose of why I'm doing this. And for the long term, since this esports organizations will be established, the end goal is for us to be able to have to tap brand to make it easier for us to tap brands or game publishers that, hey guys, we already have the network of esport teams in the city and municipality level. If you want us to organize an event, it's easy for us because it's just they're just one email away, and they have a team. We have teams prepared for this or this event, and basically that's the model that I wanted to create once after this event, I mean. So yeah, that's about it.
Excellent. So I'm very curious because the way you explain this process. Oh, excuse me. Do you mind if I put on my mentor glasses real quickly?
Sure.
Okay. So the way you explained this process earlier, for those in the audience who are new to esports, they don't understand how the economics of the business of esports works. Can you explain to those viewers who are unfamiliar with this process and system, how does the government actually, you know, actually earn money from this opportunity? Like, how do they get their, let's say their cash flow from this?
The here's the secret sauce. They don't. It's all about branding, and since they want to be acknowledged as they have something to do with the U, it's they affiliate themselves with these projects, particularly since they don't have much experience in esports or more or what do you call this, more technology based events. So through these events and other particular and what do you call this, initiatives that comes to more specialized events and activations, they just give us the go signal, and basically we just get the branding that we are government backed, because technically it's correct, because they're giving us the go signal that they were free to use their resources and the branding that we are supported by them. But with regards to financials, they don't really provide much, and it's us or event organizers who are looking to tap brands and utilize the government backed branding that we have for this event.
Okay, so for those in the audience who are new to esports and are trying to grasp how this situation works, there are situations where a business organization, such as a government, for example, they will make a strategic partner with an organization such as the one Jamar is working on, where they will actually take their resources, and in this case, right, use those resources purely for the brand exposure. Is that an accurate view of reality here?
I'm sorry.
So the way I understand this is that the government, for example, they will actually use the opportunity in terms of the esports that you're creating and then create other opportunities where the exposure that they get through esports will also help your organization grow itself, right, and provide more opportunities through gaming.
That's right.
Okay, so this is how the synergy, right? We call it a symbiotic relationship would work in theory. And oftentimes in businesses, doesn't always work this way. So people who are trying to think about how they can work with their local governments, right? You have to think about the incentive that these organizations and businesses are going to have because each government operates very differently from other governments in, any states, provinces, and cities, for example.
That's right. Yeah.
So my next question for you is something I've been very curious about since I kind of started to grasp what you're building here is where do you think the youth stand in terms of esports today?
Yeah, the Philippines, according to one study I read, it's around 70 to 80% of the Filipino youth are play online games. And one of the main factors is the low barrier of entry because most of the Filipinos use their phones to play games. We're particularly in Southeast Asia, wherein we don't usually have access to consoles. So more the population and the demographics usually have uh, phones as their means to play. So I believe that's one of the huge reasons why gaming is more prevalent and more open to a lot of youth here in the country.
So my next question for you, this is something I don't usually ask because I just don't have any understanding of it myself. However, how exactly do the adults in Southeast Asia, as far as you know, feel about esports?
There's been a growing trend of having the parents support the esports careers of their children, particularly in the Mobile Legends League, MPLPH here in the country, wherein the parents are getting interviewed and they said they're proud of how their kids are performing and how their kids are providing for their families. Yeah, with some of the pairs having their own homes at the age of 18 and having their homes constructed at the age of the 18, and the interview with the parents are really positive and optimistic in the career paths that these esport players are choosing. And actually there's been a lot of backlash here in the Philippines in the past, but slowly and surely I believe there's a change of heart and mindset when it comes to gaming here in the Philippines.
So my next question is going to be more on the topic of the adults and their perspective of esports. How exactly do you think, in terms of your experience, does Southeast Asia kind of differ from their gaming culture versus other places in the world?
Yep. So as I mentioned earlier, probably the ease of access and the lower barrier of entry to gaming is one of the reason why there are more handheld or phone gamers here in Southeast Asia compared to the West. I think there's also aside from the handheld games or the phone games, I don't know if you're familiar with PC banks in Korea, but we also have a lot of that here in Southeast Asia, wherein most of the kids go to computer shops, as we call them here, and just bond together with some of their friends and play games, and particularly League of Legends or Dota 2 and Counter-Strike are some of the top of the mind games that has been played in these computer shops. And compared to the West, the huge difference I believe are the console players, because probably with regards to the economic uh of things as well, where it's considered as a luxury if we have consoles here in Southeast Asia compared to just having or downloading a free-to-play game in your cell phone.
So for those in the audience who aren't familiar with how the economics of things work in esports, there's a lot of problems in parts of the world where, as Jamar has mentioned earlier, accessibility has been either there's a lot of people who have smartphone esports opportunities where they can create content, go professional just because of their ability to download a free app on their phone, which is great. This is why esports has been able to grow so quickly in Southeast Asia, as far as I know.
That's right.
So my next question is, where do you think esports is going to go in terms of a trend?
So yeah, really, I'm hoping and I believe more government support will be provided to esports, particularly with how times are changing right now and seeing how big the gaming industry is. It's actually part of my pitch. Since the valuation of the gaming industry is more than the combined valuation of music and movies, right? So if we do not tap this industry, we will be losing on so much. And but if we do, there's a lot of opportunity for us to be able to grow as a nation and be considered as the uh, probably one of the best in the scenes as well. So if we provide the necessary sources and necessary training, there's an opportunity for not only for the gamers but for other Filipinos as well, to if more opportunities of gaming publishers having their own uh businesses or having their own offices built here in the country. So, but yeah, worldwide, I hope Ipalarong Pabansa can make a difference by showing other other government or other countries that if you support esports, there's a lot of opportunity for your country to grow and for your industries to be more uh to keep up with the times. I mean, since although traditional sports has been stagnant for years, esports is constantly growing. Although there's been some what do you call this roadblocks along the way in the recent years, I still believe that esports is the natural evolution of sporting entertainment.
For those in the audience who are new to esports and how it works in the gaming industry, there's a lot of opportunities where you might not actually have to be using a console, as Shamar mentioned earlier, where the accessibility is a lot lower in certain parts of the world due to economic reasons and also availability reasons, because the ease of access of a smartphone compared to having 100 Xboxes just flown in from somewhere and doing the whole logistics of that operation, it can be very difficult at times. And so the purpose of the organization Jamar has been working on trying to get the stigma around esports that I'm very familiar with people not understanding, how do these organizations, turn a profit, or are they ever going to be profitable? Some are unprofitable in esports. So how do you think about the unprofitability of esports currently?
Yeah, I agree that the esports industry has bloated its numbers for several years, and we've we're currently seeing how it panned out, particularly with the current news of layoffs and the decrease in valuation of some huge esport organizations. And I believe it's about time we shake things up and really provide genuine and truthful numbers for us to be able to, what do you call this, to uh really create value to the brands for them to return their trust. And I hope to do that in the grassroots level, in the local level, or in, since I mentioned earlier, with the city and municipality partnership with local businesses, and for these businesses to be affiliated with the teams representing their hometowns in the national level, and for them to see that it's a great opportunity to be uh, tied up with the representatives of their areas. So I think it's about, I think we need to stop looking at the larger scale, but go back to the roots and start from the ground up again, and provide more opportunities and more uh, avenues and platforms for the grassroots to naturally grow. And through this organic growth, we'll be able to create more value to bigger brands and bigger partners in the upcoming years.
There's been a growing concern in esports about the way the youth, along with their local schools or the government or any major organization which will have influence over them. The growing concern is that esports is an opportunity for youth nowadays with STEM/STEAM career opportunities, job opportunities. However, there's been the concern of that where you kind of land in the landscape of esports. Sometimes it's very vague because people often think, oh, you're either a professional cyber athlete, even though we both know most gamers don't even have the ability to be a professional cyber athlete for more than 3 years at a time. It's just too difficult for them to sustain that level of skill for a long period of time at a high level, and they often experience burnout. So what would you give in terms of advice if there was a youth in the audience listening to this? They're around, 16 years old, still finishing up their, uh, you know, elementary level, or I guess even uh, higher education level learning, depending on what their age and status in school is. What advice would you give them about figuring out where you're going to go in esports as a path where it's more sustainable for them instead of just burning out within a few years?
Gotcha. So yeah, I think one way to put this is that there's a lot more opportunities in esports, and it's not purely just those who play the games, but there are ways for them to create their own careers in the esports industry. So I also want to mention that in Ipalarong Pabansa, we will not only have a tournament circuit, but we will also have a national esports shoutcaster search to provide a platform for these shoutcasters to show their talents and have them perform in the national level and give them exposure that they need. And not only that, if the esports organizations in the city or municipality level can be created, there's not only the esports coordinators, but with the funding that they will get from the local businesses, they can create more job opportunities. Like they can have some partnership officers, they can have some they can hire some coaches, or they can hire some people who can help build the organization from the ground up. And if along their growth, it's also possible for them to provide more training to those who want to be in the industry as well. And one thing that we will do in as the event organizer for Ipalarong Bansa is to provide this guidance, and for us to be able to provide the necessary resources for them to help to for them to be able to start from scratch with the resources that we will provide. So one thing that we will provide is the pitch decks where they which they can then send to their local businesses for support. And yeah, going back to the job opportunities, you can have a job in uh coaching. You can have a job in if you are a psychology graduate, you can help in the as a team coach and provide or team what do you call this, yes, the psychology part of the team. If you are a business graduate, you can help them grow the business, expand, create more, expand more branches, like having merch or having more um what do you call this, uh yeah, partnership opportunities to create uh influencers in your local area and have them start their own brands. And yeah, there's a lot actually. If you do search, they can create their own broadcasting studio and hold their own tournaments. And yeah, if they go search for job opportunities in esports, they can see the where they can have their career paths forged for them.
The way I see esports growing in terms of what you said, Jamar, the youth are going to choose either one of two paths. They're going to continue, down the path of uncertainty or doubt, and oftentimes it's going to be very painful because they will not know what they can achieve in esports because there hasn't been anything like esports before. Right? All of the skill in terms of sport before, right? When you had like the warriors in the past, you have like warrior monks and like the ancient samurai, and the Japanese craftsmen who created really cool swords, right? All those things took extensive amount of physical training, and you're thinking, how much time and effort is that going to take me, right? A lifetime of training to get to that level, and you can create a master sword. Well, in esports, to become a master, you might train for an entire year straight, and you might do that full time, and you get paid for it. Or if you're not going to become a professional cyber athlete, as Jamar said earlier, if you study psychology, become a what's the word, a performance coach, right? Or someone who
That's
actually
right.
does the uh, psychological evaluations of players in terms of are they able to handle their tilt, right? So then you become not just a performance coach, but you become someone who can actually de-escalate, right? Process the emotions of these players and coaches, etc. And you become, it's not so much just a coach or a consultant in that case. You're essentially the coach, consultant, and doctor for the well-being of the team and the organization as a whole. And you would handle many things in terms of whether, let's say, the CEO isn't feeling too well that day, and you need someone to actually hype up the CEO, because sometimes people who are managing these organizations, right, they're very distressed with these tournaments. I remember when I was managing my esports teams, I was thinking, I'm not going to watch these competitions. I'd rather use some of the time I have to not be stressed by the fact that I could win or lose a match. I'd rather focus on something else in terms of building my business or focusing on my health as a well-being thing. So this is something where youth will have to choose if they're going to be uncertain about their future or doubt their future in gaming. Esports is something where if they don't just choose a path where they can master something, it'll be tough for them, because how many people are going to be there in, let's say, the next 100 years in esports where they're going to say, we had great opportunities when we were younger. However, we chose to do something else with our time, and we ended up missing all of the things esports could have provided to our family. Are you still there?
Hello.
Okay, so
Yeah, yeah. Sorry about that.
my next question is, do you have any, problems or things that you think esports has to, as you said earlier, evolve from?
Yep. It really needs to, the industry really needs to take a reality check when it comes to the value it can provide and be truthful and be genuine with how the industry is and how they can return the favor to the brands and the partners when it comes to the time that we need to create deals with them and provide them with the necessary uh, value that we promised that we could. And I think that for us to be able to do that, the people in the industry needs to be more open to having more conversations about what's next in terms of having these partners in the future and providing uh the everyone in providing the necessary things that the organizations can provide, particularly with how things are in the industry right now and seeing a lot of talks about how the industry is in a decline. And yeah, I really think that for us to be able to move forward, we need to take that chill pill and correct the have this time to correct ourselves and provide more and go back to our roots, start from the ground up, and really provide more opportunities to the grassroots because just like how traditional sports are, uh, with the support that they get from the local level, with the opportunities that they get from that they receive from legitimate institutions, just like the government, with the support they receive, it's really important to have that same type of framework for the esports industry to stabilize and create its own mark and slingshot itself to a more successful renaissance, and for it to revolutionize the scene, for us to be able to revolutionize the scene, partnerships with more yeah part these partnerships are really important for us to be able to revolutionize the scene. So I think that is the key for us to be able to bounce back from this decline.
Mar, do you have any questions, comments, or concerns for me?
uh yeah, I think I'm good. It's actually past 12 midnight here in the Philippines, so I'm running out of juice. So I'm all good. I don't really have anything to ask.
All right, Jamar, as we finish up here, let people in the audience know where they can contact you online.
Yeah, I've started being active at LinkedIn. So they can just search for my full name, Jamar Montehermoso. That's Jamar space Montehermoso. But just call me Jam when if you try to reach out to me.
Jamar, thank you so much for your time. I'm very appreciative of your experience and what you provide to the esports industry, and I look forward to speaking with you more in the future.
Likewise, man.
All right, Jamar. Take care. Speak with you soon.
Gotcha. Right. Bye now.